After suffering his first defeat to one of the greatest boxers of all times, to Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez has simply dominated the sport of boxing. He is the highest paid boxer in the sport today. He has won championships in 4 different weight classes. He is currently undisputed at 168. So if you look at the numbers, you can already put Canelo Alvarez in the Hall of Fame if he was to retire today. I give him all the respect in the world of the things that he's accomplished, all the things that he's trying to accomplish. But the bigger question is, after suffering a second defeat to Demetrius Bivol, which I would say was kind of unknown. So what does that say about Canelo Alvarez overall? Can some people say maybe he has been facing tough opposition thus far in his career? That's for another argument. The biggest question I have today, he has a fight coming up in September against his arch rival in Triple G, which you can see up on the screen right now. I think both fights was excellent. I do think the third fight will be just as great. But also, he's supposed to be going into a rematch with Demetrius Bivol. Can he afford another loss? Will it diminish everything that he has accomplished in the sport of boxing? If you're a true boxing fan, you should know that some of the all-time greats have suffered many defeats. So I do not think, personally, it will harm Canelo Alvarez's career and everything that he's accomplished in the sport of boxing. He has set a high standard in the sport of boxing as far as today's boxing. When Floyd Mayweather retired, I do think the keys went straight to Canelo. And a lot of guys are looking up to Canelo. It don't matter about race or anything, where you come from, your background, or anything. Because one of the up-and-coming stars to take over the sport of boxing, in my own opinion, and Gervonta Tank Davis is a big fan of Canelo Alvarez. And I'm a fan of both. So that speaks volumes in a lot of ways. So I do not think taking another loss will do any harm to what Canelo Alvarez has achieved. But depending on how he loses in today's boxing can be looked at a lot different. Today's boxing, they want you undefeated, they want you knocking everyone out, and they want you almost damn near flawless, which is very, very hard to do in the sport of boxing because there's a lot of talent out there. A lot of guys that have been looked over like Demetrius Bivol, and I'm one of them. I didn't know too much about his skill set. A lot of times I try to go back and look at fights and stuff like that, or if a guy that's unknown to myself, I do try to do my homework. I didn't do a lot of homework on Demetrius Bivol. I mean, I looked at maybe like one fight of his, and I thought he looked fair. But Canelo Alvarez stepping up at 175 and taking on a monster like Demetrius Bivol was something great, even in defeat. That's what can make him different than a lot of other boxers today. Yes, some of the opponents, in my opinion, have not been the greatest opponents. It's been one-side beatings. It's not been competitive. But I think facing somebody like Demetrius Bivol and maybe possibly going back into a rematch with Demetrius Bivol can be great for Canelo, whether he win or lose. He want to test himself. This is the first time we ever seen Canelo look flawed. But he has a fight in September coming up against Triple G, which I think will be amazing. I hope it stands up to the first 2 fights. You see what Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, you see what it looked like after a trilogy fight. Do I think that Canelo Alvarez and Triple G can put on the same show? Maybe. I do think, and I do suspect, Canelo Alvarez will come back sharp. I do think he will come back in better condition. I think this will be more of a tune-up fight for his rematch with Demetrius Bivol, which is great for boxing. When you take on a hard challenger or somebody that just defeated you, and you try to come back and prove your greatness, I think you can always find a way to look at the sport of boxing in a different way when a boxer does take a loss. Today's boxing is different than yesterday's boxing. Yesterday's boxing, you can have somebody like Manny Pacquiao, which I think he had 10 losses or something like that, and he's still a true Hall of Famer. It was the way he did it. That's what made him different. Even Muhammad Ali had many losses, but it was the way he did it which made him different. You have so much talent in the sport of boxing today. It is vastly different than what it used to be. But I do think Canelo Alvarez is still the true standard in the sport of boxing. A lot of guys are becoming undisputed. A lot of guys are testing his greatness by becoming great themselves and setting their own standards. You got people like Terrence Crawford, which is currently #1 pound for pound on many of people's lists right now. He's undefeated. He's a knockout artist. He has accomplished many a things, especially at 140, becoming undisputed. You have people like Devin Haney that's undisputed right now, Jermell Charlo that's undisputed, and many other guys that's trying to become undisputed or just setting their own standards and becoming great, like Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Tank Davis, and Errol Spence. Errol Spence is currently #1 when it comes to pay-per-view numbers. So Canelo with another loss, can he still remain at the top of the peak? Can he still remain the top guy in the sport of boxing, which he currently is today, even in my opinion? But can he afford another loss? Will the crowd turn on Canelo? Will they criticize Canelo with another loss? That's up for debate, and that's the reason why I make these videos the way I do, for open conversation. But you guys let me know what you think about this one down in the comments below. Please also like, share, and subscribe.